Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. Today we were mentioned in a article, actually we were referenced in an article concerning smart meters. Smart meters certified by ANSI standards. Smart meters certified by ANSI, who doesn't know their ass from page 10 and does criminal activities. There's an article that's going to be down below this video that will give you everything that I'm telling you, so I'm going to try to keep this video short. This video was most recently published about the haphazardness of the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accrediting Board that they took over in 2018. I do this because of integrity, honesty, and the truth, something that has waned these last 20 or 30 years, maybe 40 even. The article that this is referencing is Who is Responsible for Manufacturing Quality? QA Expert Daryl Guberman explains. With these smart meters, they let off a lot of spurious radiation that actually over time might kill you. I can't say will, but might. We are affected by 5G, by radio waves, by all the rest of that. And I can attest to this because I'm an amateur radio operator. I've been that since 1991. And the call sign is November 1, India Zulu Echo. This video today is about when the safety accreditation bodies are corrupt. QA expert Daryl Guberman exposes ANSI-ANAB, who are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. The International Accreditation Forum is incorporated in Delaware, and ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, is in Australia. The acronym that we have made up is IAF, stands for It Always Fails. And it's a repository for all these national and international accreditation bodies that ANSI-ANAB are underwriters for, which means they take all legal responsibility of failure within inside not only the system, but the products that are produced within that system. You also have the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, which we affectionately call Is Laboratory Accreditation Credible? It is not. I don't want to elaborate too much. I don't want this video to be long. Remember, down below is an article based on a 40-minute video called Who is Responsible for Manufacturing Quality? QA Expert Daryl Guberman explains. A big term that ANSI-ANAB uses and everybody in the quality community, they call it about impartial oversight. It is far from impartial. I've showed on many videos concerning this mess. Another big word, a term that is used, is obfuscation. The action of making something obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. And by the way, my dear quality colleague Merdad in Iran, this word is for you because I know you like it so much. Just in conversation about quality. The next is voluntary. Voluntary, you hear ANSI, voluntary consensus standards. There's nothing voluntary about this organization or ANAB that they own. The next one is about now this came right off ANSI-ANAB site, okay? Is accreditation mandatory? Accreditation is voluntary. Accreditation by ANAB provides an exemplary level of credibility, integrity, and trust. Well, let me go over this. You have Boeing, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Lockheed, for example, 4 corporations sitting on ANSI over by the FAA, FDA, USDA, CDC, NIH, FBI, DOJ, DOD, etc., so many FTC, etc. So I'm going to tell you this about those 4 companies. The first one is going to be Boeing. Boeing got caught fudging documentation by the FAA, and that must have been a real glaring issue because the FAA gave permission to Boeing in 2009 to basically design, build, and fly and do flight worthiness on the 737 MAX. They have quality issues with the 777, 787, and of course the 757. Does that show accreditation by ANAB provides an exemplary level of credibility and integrity? And on their supplier portal, Boeing boldly shows, must be ANSI-ANAB or internationally equivalent. When you find out who the international equivalent is, it is Iran and Pakistan. And I don't say this to the people, I say this to the politicians there. Yes. Iran and Pakistan are both IAF MLA, which are, you're going to find out, which are multilateral agreement, and there's also MRA, which is multi-regional agreement organizations, which are equivalent to ANAB. So that means if there's a failure in the system in Iran or wherever Iran is going to be doing certification audits, that means ANSI-ANAB are responsible because they are underwriters. So now we go to Lockheed. Lockheed Martin, there was most recently, it was an article that said Lockheed Martin on its 801st aircraft, F-35, they still have rejections up to including loss of aircraft, loss of pilot. So does that show accreditation by ANAB provides an exemplary level of credibility, integrity, and trust? And let me tell you this about Boeing going back. Boeing sits on ANAB's board at one time, okay, not that many years ago, okay, very short, probably a year, 2 years ago, that they sit on ANAB's board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. You can't make this up. They also sit on the management board that can make decisions, managerial decisions about the function of ANAB. So you have a corporation that is actually controlling its accreditation body. They also have 7 different registrars up on ANSI that many of these OEMs utilize these accreditation bodies. So did that show, okay, with Lockheed and Boeing, did that show that accreditation by ANAB provides an exemplary level of credibility, integrity, and trust? Now we go to Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. Skipping quality processes and standards, recalls after recalls, contamination after contamination, yet they sit on ANSI's board. Now, does that show accreditation by ANAB provides an exemplary level of credibility, integrity, and trust? There is none of that. They're pulling the wool over your eyes. And let me just say that for those of you who are ANAB accredited, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start sending flags. We have little sticker flags, Chinese flags, so that you can proudly stick one in your door, because that's what you support. You've supported it for many years if you are, especially between 2015 and 21. You have ANSI, which is the American National Standards Institute, which is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental entity. And I'm going to show you that this is disgusting, that when the safety accreditation bodies are corrupt, QA expert Daryl Guberman exposes ANSI-ANAB, and it is. ANSI is approving these faulty meters, and they're giving off spurious admissions. It's a known fact, scientific community. There's a physicians research organization, many who are looking into the spurious emissions of EMF on electromagnetic forces. Well, let's show you this. In 2015, Randy Doherty, the vice president of ANAB, the chairman of the IF, and the principal in the IF tax report, handed over leadership to Communist National Xiao Jianhua, who's been involved with our quality since 1994. Xiao Jianhua is also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services in Beijing, China, and he is mandated by his president, Xi Jinping, to take your data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. Mind you, too, who sits on ANSI is NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, National Institution of Standards and Technology. And let me just tell you something. They have NIST SP 800, which is for cybersecurity, and here they are sitting right over by this guy at that time. And they're pushing it down many suppliers of the government, companies, down their throats with CMMM and CMMC. That's a good joke. ANSI and ANAB took over. ANSI took over in 2018. You have both federal agencies and corporations on board. Here's a larger picture of Randy and Xiao Jianhua. Randy came out with a nice little article. I'm also very pleased that my successor as IF chair and president is Mr. Xiao Jianhua of the China National Accreditation Services. He is a wealth of knowledge and experience in the position. Zhao attended the second meeting of the IF in 1994. We have a video of Xiao Jianhua retiring in 2021 because, remember, his leadership is only 6 years for the IF between 2015 and 2021. I think they changed it. I think it's a 3-year term possibly. But anyway, I have a nice little video there that shows all those quality people kissing his ass. Maybe they like Chinese food. Who the hell knows? Anyway, this is it. It will be down below as well. You have, here he is, Xi Jinping talking about the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. You have the factor that ANAB sits on ANSI's board. You remember ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. And now you have, this is a fun part because, hold on a sec, here it is, 2018. And then you see that they sit on ANSI's, on the IF, the International Accreditation Forum. And all of those organizations, corporations, and federal agencies that sit on ANSI at that time were affiliated most deeply with Iran and Pakistan, because sitting on the IAF as members in good standing and also as in complete accreditation of like ANAB, they are recognized by ANSI-ANAB as being equivalent. They were sitting by Iran, who is presently taking the lead about paying Hamas to kill people. Isn't that a tender moment? And ANSI and ANAB sit on American-based company, ladies and gentlemen. Can you imagine that? There's 10 organizations in China that can issue an ANAB accredited certification. Here is Xiao Jianhua standing in the lab at Wuhan, China, the BioLevel 4 lab, which this was in 2017, which released the COVID virus. In fact, a bunch of American scientists went over there and investigated, and the scientists in Wuhan were begging them to get more qualified people. In fact, the CDC in 2019, to try to cover their ass because the CDC sits on ANSI's board, they came up with this training document, not for any other company or any other area in China except Wuhan, China lab. And it talks about the University of Texas going there to train these people. I guess they didn't train them right because the virus still escaped. And within the context of that May 2019 training document of the CDC, it states that the most important personnel in the entire laboratory is those who are well-trained technicians who handle those viruses. On top of that, in 2017, we had a Miss Pamela Sale, Vice President of Quality for Laboratory Accreditation, say under deposition in Texas, she actually admitted to the release of the COVID virus. She did. She admitted. She said from one laboratory to another, there are no protocols. They pick and choose what they want and how they test and all the rest of that mess. Now we come up to this. The IAF and ILAC. The IAF and ILAC are the International Accreditation Forum and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. Now, they are sister organizations, and ANSI and ANAB are underwriters. I've already gone through government contracts that show that ANSI, ANAB are an underwriter for the IAF. We have Mr. Randy Doherty, who sent this letter to me in 2014 when he was a vice president of ANAB, chairman of the IAF, and also chairman the principal on the IF tax report. He explained what a IAF, MLA, and MRA, remember MLA is multilateral agreement and multi-regional agreement organization, and they are equivalent in accreditation to ANAB. Also, sitting right over by ANSI-ANAB on the IAF, okay, and who's their members? Like the FBI. We just heard Christopher Wray, several days ago talking about Hamas and Israel war may have ramifications on our soil here, possibly terrorism. Yet when you find out that here it is, you have Iran and Pakistan sitting on the American-based company, the IAF. So you basically already have terrorism. They admit it. Now, I'm not talking about the people of Iran or Pakistan. I'm talking about the leadership. You have Pakistan, who harbored Osama bin Laden. You also have Iran, who admitted to harboring some of the terrorists of 9/11. Yet they sit very cozily by ANSI-ANAB. Now your certificate is compromised because Iran is financing Hamas. So when they talk about, Christopher Wray, the FBI, talks about maintaining vigilance, we have to maintain vigilance over China, over Iran, Pakistan, blah, 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 blah. Then we show that the FBI, being that they sit on ANSI, right over on the IAF, they're sitting by Iran and Pakistan, who are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAB. And you have Iran, who is financing Hamas. So basically, our FBI and all those other federal agencies, CDC, FDA, DOD, all the rest of this stuff, FAA, USDA, EPA, all of those federal agencies are immersed by association with Iran. Do you agree with me? Honestly, we must look at this again. We have ANSI-ANAB sitting on ANSI's board is the FBI and CDC, etc., FTC, DOD. Okay, so you have them here. And they sit very cozy on the IAF with Iran and Pakistan. And remember, Iran is feeding Hamas weapons and also money. So, we want to leave it here. I wanted to show you this because there is a wonderful person, Kathy, who is involved with, she is fighting the fight with her electric company. She is fighting the fight. They always say, well, ANSI, it's an ANSI standard. Well, as you can see, ANSI's fucked, okay? ANSI, you take a look at Joe Bathia, the CEO, and you take a look at their lawyer, Jameson Carroll. It's like two peas in a pod, and a pea is full of worms. And by the way, I apologize if you don't like the word fuck, but that's a quality term. When you're going down on a plane, God forbid, because, you know, that company I told you, Fudged documentation, when it goes down because of a failure, and most people will say, well, Daryl, a plane hasn't gone down in such a long time. I call it brain fog from the COVID injection, but regardless of that. And by the way, when you have a plane going down, you say, if you have enough time, you say, we're fucked. Now, that either tells you about the quality of the aircraft, or the pilot wasn't good, one or the other. Or the engine wasn't good because of an AOG Technics part in there. Who knows? Remember, AOG Technics, who fudged documentation manufacturing their parts for the CFM56 engines, was only following what Boeing does. Can you imagine that? Isn't that a tender moment in a turbulent world? This is Daryl Guberman, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, Daryl, TQRS at yahoo.com. And I do this, as I have always done, to educate you. Most of you don't give a shit. Well, when your ass is on a plane, just remember, didn't that guy Guberman talk about fudging documentation with metal components? How about Kobe Steel too? How about Kobe Steel? They were caught fudging documentation. It was a big scandal, but we will never know where those parts were located. The story breaks, you never hear about. Almost like the FBI, same thing. We caught cybersecurity, and you never hear what happens to the person they catch. Unbelievable. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. And remember, Christopher Wray, I wonder how he's going to look good in the turban. I think Christopher Wray will look good in the turban. Maybe he's wearing a turban right now. Who knows? He's so close to Iran, being an ANSI member. I thank you.